Murim's stronghold, which was located on the 7th floor. Cheon-guk, with bandages wrapped around him, gazed far into the outside scenery from the 3-story pavilion that made up the stronghold. "Your wounds are quite deep." The elderly man, who had applied medicine and changed the bandages, presented a beneficial decoction. Accepting the dish, Cheon-guk gulped down the decoction, then wiped the residue from his mouth and asked, "How long will it take?" "To fully recover, a convalescence of at least 15 days will be necessary." 15 days. Considering the depth of the wounds, it was a surprisingly short period. If not for the tower's mysteries, Cheon-guk's injuries were severe enough to require not 15 days, but half a year of recuperation. Recalling the battle from that time, Cheon-guk frowned. Hwang Yuseong. Each of his punches was so fierce it reminded one of death. If he had landed a blow on a vital point even once, it wouldn't have ended with just convalescence. Is there no way to shorten it? Impossible. Well, given what the Divine Doctor said, it must be so. Divine Doctor. He was one of the doctors representing Murim, alongside the Demon Doctor. If he said 15 days, then it was 15 days. There was no way to shave more time off. Besides the external injuries, the demonic energy that infiltrated your body has wreaked havoc on your blood and internal organs. Treating the external wounds hastily would only be toxic. I get it. No more nagging. You should treat your body with more care, Lord. This time there was no other choice. You know that better than anyone, old man. He didn't think it would be easy to capture Hwang Yuseong. Setting aside the variable of demonic energy, Hwang Yuseong was a player who had written countless legends. My point is, focus on your recovery. I suppose I should, right? Do you have an urgent matter? Not really, just far away. Cheon-guk smiled faintly, looking toward the lodge where Hyang was staying. I just miss my daughter. I couldn't greet her properly. That child will want to escape. I know. Probably I know it better than anyone else. But what can we do? It's her fate. Russell Dash. Cheon-guk said, as he put on the clothes laid beside him. If the treatment is done, please leave. Time's up. You still have medicine to take. Leave it. Whoosh dash. At that moment, a faint presence entered the space where the two men stood. If you're too late, you'll die. Chill dash. The Divine Doctor's eyes widened as he tried to turn around, just as he was about to identify the presence. Don't even turn around. You'll die if you do. Who are you? A person you shouldn't be curious about. The Divine Doctor was wise enough not to risk his life out of curiosity. Though dedicated to his medical vocation, he too was a player who had climbed to the 7th floor of the tower. Shuffling dash. With his back bent and eyes closed, the Divine Doctor retreated backward to avoid turning around. Once the Divine Doctor had withdrawn. Swish dash. Rising despite his injuries, Cheon-guk knelt. It's been a while. He then called out a name that was difficult to utter. Heavenly Demon. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the sky, a winged horse strolled, and the sun and moon hung together. The clouds, from red to purple, were striped with a myriad of colors, as if they had split a rainbow. A world similar yet different from the world of humans, truly a realm of the gods. Asgard. Within it was a world called Valhalla, exclusively for the gods. Suyuk followed Brynhild, exploring this world. Wow! Look at the scenery. If it were me, I would live here. Look at the clouds. It was beautiful and mysterious. Asgard was a realm that players had only heard about but had never seen before. It remained a mystical, unknown world until now. Given this, Hyang had changed the stream title to match the viewer's interests. Title: Anyone want to see Asgard Valhalla? Showing now. Multiple Valkyries. The title was simple and straightforward. While a provocative title might usually be necessary to attract viewers, there was no need for one right now. The situation itself was exceptionally stimulating for the audience. Viewers. 123, 170. The number of viewers had surpassed 120,000. The chat was filled with conversations about Valhalla. People were visibly excited at the news that Thor would appear. 232 Suyuk has donated 100 points. What's the story? Dying to know. Everyone was naturally curious about what had happened to suddenly encounter Thor. After a moment of contemplation, Suyuk adjusted his microphone so Brynhild wouldn't hear and answered. You'll see when you watch. Really? You're hiding this? Suyuk, is this how I raised you? Complaints were inevitable. For those eager to have their questions answered immediately, it could be frustrating. However, despite the complaints, Suyuk's decision was the right one. As proof, a whisper from Unhyang popped up in the fast-moving chat. Whisper manager. Well done, happy face. Creating curiosity and anticipation was a streamer's duty. Suyuk continued to fulfill that role. It looks very different, doesn't it? Brynhild, who had been walking ahead with Tyr, spoke to Suyuk. Tyr continued to remain silent, either because he had nothing to say or because he was naturally reticent. Suyuk turned his microphone back and replied, Yes, it does look different. In Asgard, there is no day or night. Here in Valhalla, the same sun and moon are always in the sky. She continued while looking up at the sky as Suyuk did. It's a magical sky. Literally. Literally. Yes, that sky was created by magic. Hearing that, Suyuk's perspective shifted. All of this was magically created? He couldn't imagine it. What kind of magic was capable of such a thing? I've just crossed one wall. Midgard and Valhalla. The two worlds were separated by a massive wall called Razdrik. He could see it even now if he looked far enough. The boundary built by the gods. Suyuk knew from the trials on the 6th floor how many people shed blood and felt despair trying to cross that boundary. Many inhabitants of Midgard dreamt of Valhalla, believing it to be a land of beauty, happiness, honor, and pride. But I'm not so sure. He recalled the image of Thor, who had become a madman after being consumed by Mjolnir. I'm not sure if that's true. Just then, Tyr suddenly stopped walking. This is the second time a human has entered Valhalla. Tyr brought up humans once again. He didn't like humans. Suyuk was an exception, but that didn't mean he liked him. They won't look at you kindly. It's your responsibility to overcome that. I have no prejudices. You should stay quiet. Contrary to expectations, Brynhild wore a bright and smiling face. Tyr clicked his tongue and shook his head. Don't listen to this guy. He's always been unreliable. All right. Right now, the gods are gathering over there. In the direction Lee Suyuk was walking with Tyr, there stood a massive temple. A lot of them have gathered just to see you. What do you want to hear from me? What is it you want to gain here? Surely, you're not thinking of living among the gods. What Lee Suyuk wanted in Valhalla. Initially, what he sought here was the other half of thunder. However, he had unexpectedly obtained that half too quickly. But that did not mean he had no tasks left to complete here. The human who came here before me. Tyr's eyes wavered. I plan to follow his trail. Skake dash. In the blink of an eye, Tyr's sword was drawn and pointed at Suyuk's neck. Lee Suyuk could have reacted if he wanted to. But he didn't. He knew Tyr would be furious about losing one arm to a human. It was a moment to fully accept that fury. Are you associated with him? No. Then why? I want to know. Suyuk's gaze shifted to Tyr's empty arm. I wondered just how formidable one must be to make your arm like that. Is that all? I need power. Chike dash. His neck got a small cut, and his skin split apart. If possible, I plan to follow his trail. You finally said it. Flatha dash. Looking at the blood dripping onto the ground, Suyuk thought. Luckily, he was not killed. You've seen how terrible a choice it was, yet you're going to make the same one. Fine. Do as you wish. Swoosh dash. With that, Tyr turned away abruptly. Watching him pass by with rough steps, Suyuk sighed. Should I consider this permission? What does this even mean? Brynhild looked puzzled, clearly unable to comprehend. She likely did not know that Suyuk possessed thunder. You will find out soon. Fortunately, she did not press Suyuk for an answer. Perhaps it was not that she trusted Suyuk, but rather, she had faith in the great god, Tyr. They hurried and reached the front of the temple. The door, several times larger than them, opened on its own as they approached. Creak dash, rumble dash. The vast interior of the temple came into view at a glance. The high throne at the front was empty, and among the sparsely placed chairs with holes, dozens of gods sat with their arms crossed. The gods of Valhalla. Not all of them were gathered, but as Tyr said, quite a number of them were waiting here to see Suyuk. Tingle, tingle dash. The hostility they emitted made his body tingle. With dozens of gods all simultaneously showing hostile intent, it brought to mind a specific scene. It's similar to that time. Thump, thump dash. In the midst of the silent gathering, the eyes watching, is looking at you. Is looking at you. Is looking at you. Second floor, the trial of lightning. The cutscene that had appeared after defeating the king of the giants. The eyes that had looked down on him from within the clouds. The eyes that had watched him then overlapped with the eyes of the gods gathered here. You were there too. The main scenario of the second floor. Lightning. In the end, every trial from then to now had been connected as one. Such overwhelming pressure, wow. He's got a look that could kill, haha. Is Odin not here? As the gods were revealed, reactions grew more intense. Cheon Riang, seated and settled in front of his computer, checked the number of viewers. Viewers, 131, 920, over 130,000 viewers. This stream was the hottest topic in the industry. Even without its already rising popularity, the added provocative concept of the trial ensured its success. Great response. If this keeps up, we might hit 200,000. Watching the viewer count climb relentlessly, Cheon Riang clicked his tongue in astonishment. 130,000 was enough to be called a major streamer. It was hard to believe that this was a streamer who had only started streaming a short while ago. The name Lee Suyuk was causing a new phenomenon, spanning over 20 years. At this rate, we'll be able to charge several times more for the next ads. If we take a few ads during the counterfight finals, Cheon Riang muttered with a joyful smile. We might get a pretty significant bonus too. Is money all you think about, you money grubber? Despite An Hyang's piercing gaze, which seemed like it could shoot lasers, Cheon Riang's thoughts were still filled with roses. Well, with such performance, a substantial bonus was indeed expected. Why so serious? Our Lee Suyuk stream is doing great. Aren't you happy too? Oh, when did it become our Suyuk? From the very beginning. You're good at talking. An Hyang laughed, amused by Cheon Riang's excited demeanor. Then, I'll trust you to handle the manager's duties. Cheon Riang Nim. What? Cheon Riang. Nim? Both our and Nim. Words he had never heard applied to him were suddenly used. For a moment, Cheon Riang felt a chill run down his spine. What's going on? What are you planning to make me do now? Nothing. Just keep doing your job well. Really? Yes. An Hyang downed the rest of her drink and stood up. I'll be away for a while. Where are you going? Without thinking, Cheon Riang reflexively grabbed An Hyang's wrist. He knew he couldn't hold her back, but he felt compelled to at least try. Recently, things happening around her were quite unusual. The Divine Dragon group sought her. She met An Cheon Guk, and even the Heavenly Demon, though with different purposes, had come to see her. She was in danger. If not, it would be strange. Sit down and let's talk. Why? Going abruptly like this? Even though there's a lot going on lately. Lately? What? An Hyang's nonchalant question made Cheon Riang pause. Was she really asking because she didn't know? His mouth hung open, speechless, while An Hyang chuckled softly. What? Concerned about me? Wouldn't you be concerned? Don't worry, I'm not disappearing. We can still communicate via kit, so what's there to worry about? Despite her playful, childish words, there was maturity underlying them. Qion Riang saw in her the resemblance to the childhood Anhyang who always wanted to buy sweets. Are you starting again? Yes. Are you sure? Once you start, you can't stop. It's fine. I'm not alone anymore. Are you really sure? Qion Riang's gaze shifted to the screen of the kit in his hand. The screen showed Li Suyuk walking among the gods of Valhalla. Qion Riang let out a hollow laugh at the notion forming in his mind. He's just a streamer. Not just a streamer. Do you really think Li Suyuk would risk his life for you just because he helped you once? Unlike usual, Qion Riang's words had thorns. Even if these words would stab her mercilessly, he hoped they wouldn't pierce her heart. If it could make Anhyang hesitate now, if it could stop her, he didn't care how much resentment he faced later. No way. Absolutely not. He's just a points-chasing streamer. Don't you know Li Suyuk's nickname? He's called Money Crazy. Do you really believe that? Are you crazy, seriously? Open your eyes and see reality. You can't just throw your life away for this guy. Qion Riang was confident. Li Suyuk would never help Anhyang. He had occasionally fought alongside the martial artists of the Divine Dragon Group and the Sky Thunder Sword, but it had been nothing more than that. No one in the world could fight alongside them without significant bonds, especially not from a relationship formed at work. I know, me too. You know? I'm no kid. I don't indulge in naive hopefulness. Who would risk their life for someone they've merely worked with a few times? Then, it didn't seem like she was just saying this to calm him down. Qion Riang took a moment to quell his excitement and listen to her words. Quite the contrary. Contrary? I don't want anyone I like, including you, to be in danger because of me. Even if I stay as I am now, that day will certainly come. He couldn't say otherwise. Cheonguk and the Divine Dragon Group wanted Anhyang's talent. The heavens had given Anhyang an unparalleled talent, and they coveted it. Would they stand idly by forever just because she stayed inactive? Qion Riang knew better. Absolutely not. So, I have to protect it with my own strength. I can't stay like this. A light returned to the eyes of the genius that had been dimmed for a long time. Qion Riang could no longer stop her. Although he knew it was dangerous, he couldn't tell her to just wait for an uncertain and ominous day to come. Perhaps telling her to stop would indeed drive a thorn into her heart. This is not just some fangirl behavior or foolish hope play. Having no more words to say, Qion Riang bowed his head deeply. He had lost. This was an invincible resolve. At the same time, his heart ached. Knowing her determination included him. I've become someone who needs to be protected again. The two syllables of Qion Riang had always been Anhyang's old weakness, and that stemmed from Anhyang's care for him. With his own power, he could do nothing. No matter how insanely he tried to build strength and climb the tower, he knew it was nothing more than futile struggling. But while he couldn't help her, there was at least a way not to be her weakness. Go and deliver the message. Recalling the words of Cheonguk that hadn't been conveyed to Anhyang. I can't continue being just a weakness. He slowly closed his eyes, not wanting to watch Anhyang's retreating figure. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Thud dash. At the center of the palace where the gods gathered, Suyuk stood, drawing all their gazes upon himself. The gods' eyes fixed on the odd human in Valhalla varied greatly. Why have they allowed a human here? I heard Tyr chose him. As if we didn't know that? Skepticism. Are we really going to keep watching him? I want to kill him right now. Contempt. He's not an ordinary human. Tyr, who despises humans the most, chose him. There must be something special about him. Curiosity. Suyuk answered those curious gazes. Why, indeed? Crackle dash. Suyuk immediately manifested thunder on the spot. Watching the blue electricity arise from his fingertips, several gods were startled and shifted their weight in their heavy chairs. That is thunder. Why is that in a human's hands? For gods who were doubtful, Suyuk increased the output. Boom! Only after confirming with sound did the gods accept that what Suyuk possessed was indeed thunder. Is this explanation enough? Now I think we need another explanation. Regarding how he obtained thunder, Suyuk elucidated. The mission Thor had entrusted to Viola and the Valkyries, and the events that had unfolded while assisting with that mission. Did thunder choose a human as its owner? Hard to believe. While the gods buzzed with chatter. They have to believe it. A uniquely commanding voice interrupted. Lightning originally belonged to humans. Lee Suyuk glanced at the god who had spoken. It was a familiar face. Without scrutinizing his features too closely, the one with firmly closed eyes and scars was instantly recognizable. Heimdall, the god who had lost his eyes but gained insight into the truth. The gatekeeper of Valhalla, who filtered humans through trials, stared at him clearly despite his blind eyes. Still, this is problematic. In the past, it might not have mattered, but now that's Asgard's. Giving, then taking back? I'm not suggesting taking it back. However, to own it, you would need formal recognition from Valhalla. Even after entering Valhalla, another trial awaited. Suyuk smirked beneath his mask. You're being quite blatant with your discrimination. Not at all. Heimdall shook his head. I've already heard about you. Thanks to you, Bergelmir's resurrection was prevented. I thank you on behalf of Valhalla. Instead, he bowed politely, representing other gods. It wasn't a hostile reaction. This is a request from Tyr. He asked me to test if you truly belong in Valhalla. Tyr's request. At his words, Suyuk's eyes narrowed. Another test. He had taken enough tests. Did Tyr not know this? Judging by his reaction, it didn't seem so. Tyr had notably stopped him from invoking Thor's name. That meant he had other thoughts. Is there more to see? Pop dash. At that moment, a new presence appeared behind Suyuk. It hadn't approached rapidly. It had simply appeared. Magic. Why not just kill him? Like this? Snap dashed up. A short, sharp object was felt at his neck. Probably an awl or dagger. Though Suyuk could have reacted, he didn't. This one had no intention of killing him. Loki. The day has come when the mischievous prince likes me. The reactions of other gods revealed his identity. Loki, the second prince of Asgard. He drooled behind Suyuk. Enough, Loki. Heimdall intervened. He's Tyr's guest. I know. That's why I won't kill him immediately. Swish dash. Loki spun the awl lightly in his hand before disappearing again. It was just a joke. Just a joke. He reappeared in the midst of the empty seats among the gods. With a dreary black head and a cunning smile, he had the most greedy eyes among the gathered gods. My apologies. If you were offended, my deepest regrets. Not at all. So, what's this test about? Find and tame a sky horse who doesn't mingle with anyone in the sky. If you can do that, no god will be able to deny you. Taming a horse? It won't be easy. Skyhorse is a sacred beast born with divinity, like us. Taming a skyhorse. The concept wasn't easy to grasp. This was certainly not conventional horseback riding, and the skyhorse Heimdall mentioned likely wasn't an ordinary one. Throughout the conversation, Heimdall felt more inscrutable than the malicious and greedy Loki. His firmly closed eyes revealed nothing. Still, there was one thing. At least the bait worked. There was a result. Scenario, Thunder's wings has begun. Scenario, those who seek the thunder has begun. It's biting. It became clear. Why did another unnecessary test come up? Why Thor, who should have regained his senses after losing Mjolnir, was still hiding. Those who seek the thunder. The name of this scenario was the core of this test. Just as Suyuk was about to step away. Swoosh dash. The surroundings blurred as the sound disappeared. Recognizing the familiar phenomenon, Suyuk paused. The second cutscene of this test was beginning. The scene displayed in the cutscene was of the garden where Tyr and Heimdall used to share tea. Instead of Heimdall, however, Odin had returned to Valhalla and was seated there. Seeing this, Lee Soo-yuk felt a surge of anger and turned to the microphone to speak. That old geezer seems to be enjoying his tea just fine. LOL. Seems like he's really enjoying it? Tear. Super delicious, lol. Having dropped him among the gods without a word, now they were leisurely drinking tea. Even though he had to accept that it was just a test, it still made him furious. If he forgot for a moment that he was a human, it was a situation where he should have even been grateful. I wonder if they should be so relaxed about this. I do feel sorry for that friend. He has to shoulder too much alone. At least you know that. It seemed they hadn't entirely lost their sense of shame. Despite drinking tea, they appeared anxious in some way. To think he showed them thunder right there on the spot. Risky, but it worked out. No need to go a long way around now. You're right. It has gotten risky. The cutscene was warning Soo-yuk. While the time had been shortened, the situation had become more dangerous. They will move immediately, right? Indeed, well, if we don't act. That's hard to believe. But as of now, there's no one else to think about. Odin nodded at Tyr's words. Even though he didn't understand why those two couldn't move, the atmosphere was quite serious. Unfortunately, the identity of the person they were speculating about was filtered, so it was unclear. Who's next to them, though? A friend? Family? A secret lover, perhaps? The viewers, who didn't recognize Odin, were filled with questions. That gentleman is Odin. Dash? Wow, really? Were they in that kind of relationship? LOL. Why are you linking them suddenly? While the viewers were joking around, Soo-yuk started explaining the previous test. During the last test, I saved Thor. But apparently, someone set a trap for him. Just then, Odin rose from his seat. Now, they are looking for that person. I'll be going now. I can't stay too long. All right. Tyr also stood up, following Odin. The two who had been drinking tea together dispersed in different directions. Now I'll have to trust those two. With that, the cutscene ended and the scenery returned. Soo-yuk stood there alone, and the gods had all disappeared. Left alone, Soo-yuk muttered in disbelief. So why do you believe in me? Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Soo-yuk moved straight away to take the test. Although he had to take the test alone, he needed one companion. Fortunately, he could get support through Brynhild. And so Soo-yuk selected his companion. Thanks to you, I get to see the sky again. Viola gazed up at the endlessly stretching sky of Valhalla. The blue sky's breeze tousled her blonde hair in strands, letting her body embrace the refreshing wind. With no hint of humidity, Viola closed her eyes momentarily. I owe you more gratitude. How will I ever repay this favor? To begin with, could you slow down a bit? Clinging tightly to Viola's back, Soo-yuk felt like he might puke any moment. The two were flying on the skyhorse. Since Soo-yuk couldn't ride the skyhorse by himself, he received Viola's help, allowing him to ascend to the sky like this. Oh dear, is it too fast? It's making me a bit nauseous. The skyhorse was fast, but it wasn't so fast that it was unbearable. The problem was the excessive shaking and the movement that went on for too long. Vomit! Vomit! Let's make a pancake spread. Throw up on Viola's back and I'll donate 10,000 points, lol. Viola, who had been checking Soo-yuk's condition, took the reins of the sky horse again. Their pace gradually slowed. As the shaking reduced, Soo-yuk's condition finally stabilized. It was rougher than I expected. I'm confident in fast riding, though. The sky horse isn't just any mount. Oh, then, it requires communication and bonding. Divine beasts don't just let anyone ride them. Divine beasts. Come to think of it, even Heimdall had mentioned something similar. It won't be easy. The sky horse is a sacred beast born with divinity, like us. He had thought it was just a flying horse with wings. Communication and bonding. He still didn't understand what that meant. But it was worth remembering. This trial involved finding and taming a sky horse that didn't join any group. If taming sky horses was not just about subduing them, it was necessary to start practicing communication with the sky horse. Sky horse. just as Suyuk awkwardly patted the sky horse's back. Kaihihang dash. The sky horse spasmed and shot up into the sky. Yuwa dash. LOL. 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 Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The place they ascended to on the sky horse was another cloud that existed above the clouds. Remarkably, the clouds here were solid enough to stand on with their feet. Suyuk, who barely landed on the cloud, vomited dry heaves. Are you all right? Yes, fortunately. He seriously wondered if he'd end up getting the 10,000 points donation. If that happened, he probably wouldn't have been able to look Viola in the face. Crunch dash. Right next to them, the sky horse was nibbling on a cloud. He found it curious how the sound of chewing on fruit could come from a cloud. Meeting Suyuk's eyes once, the sky horse then promptly turned its head away. Getting ignored. Sexist horse? Roast it. With a surge of anger, Suyuk yearned to roast the creature. He closed his eyes tightly to suppress the impulse. Communication, communication, communication. Thinking of patience again, he repeated the word internally several times. After calming down, Suyuk asked, "Do sky horses live in places like this?" "They live higher in the sky than any other creature. They eat and grow on clouds. They live, eat, and exist solely on pride." As she spoke, Viola stroked the sky horse's head. Unlike when Suyuk had patted its back, the sky horse showed no resistance this time. "Your mission is to find and tame a sky horse that doesn't travel in a herd, right?" "Yes. It won't be easy. If a sky horse doesn't stay with the group, then it probably—" Viola couldn't finish her sentence. A flock of sky horses spread their wings and flew above the clouds. There they are. Nearly 100 sky horses, flying in line like well-trained soldiers. That's quite a number. It's a magnificent sight, isn't it? Is the one traveling alone like an outcast? Quite the opposite. Viola shook her head. It's more like a king of the herd. A king. A creature so dominant that it doesn't even fit into the role of a leader. All the sky horses fear it. The sky horse, who was leisurely eating a cloud, shuddered slightly at Viola's explanation. Apparently, it understood her words and was thinking of the sky horse she was referring to. It seems so. It's a terribly ferocious one. Most Valkyries don't even dare to approach it. Even a regular sky horse was hard to manage, yet he had to tame such a beast. Taming a horse appeared to be more difficult than expected. Overwhelmed by an impending sense of fatigue, Suyuk looked up at the sky and sighed. "I told you it would be difficult. Yes, it seems very hard. And this isn't the only thing I need to think about. Pardon. I have another task to take care of." Suyuk had 2 trials to complete. One was the Wing of Thunder. The second one was Those Who Seek the Thunder. This test was not conducted separately. Given that it was not separated and assigned simultaneously, the probability of it being conducted simultaneously was high. They must have targeted me. The one who had trapped Thor in the cutscene. That was probably the Those Who Seek the Thunder. It wasn't easy to find out who he was. However, the opposite, to make him find himself, was very easy. After all, he held the thunder that the Seeker so desperately wanted. If there's an opportunity, it's now. A vast sky. Here no one would know. I can seize the thunder without anyone noticing. Tyr and Odin were using him to find the one who had trapped Thor. It was unclear what taming the sky horse had to do with any of this, but given the test, there was no choice but to resolve it. But where do we find that guy? No need to look. Viola shook her head and looked up. He's not the type to run or hide. Whoosh dash. At that moment, a shadow with an exceptional presence was cast. The pressure was much greater than when 100 sky horses appeared. A sky horse, 3 to 4 times larger than the one Viola was riding, with horns protruding from its head, emerged from the clouds. It looked more like a monster than a sky horse. Its appearance seemed to substantiate the rumors of it being the king of the pack, as the other sky horses quivered in its presence. Wheeze dash. As the sky horse trembled and nuzzled into Viola's embrace, The viewers went wild. What's that? That might not even be a horse. At least it's definitely a male. Amidst all this, Suyuk's gaze was fixed on the sky horse that had made a grand entrance. The creature, too, seemed aware of Suyuk, exhaling hot air and raising its front legs. Nay dash! The surrounding clouds dispersed in a thin mist. It was a clear message to get off its turf. What do you expect me to do with that thing? Communication and empathy. That's the basics of taming a sky horse. That's tough. One could tell at a glance. That monstrosity had enough power to appear as a boss in the 7th trial. No, calling it a monster was inappropriate. The gods referred to it as a spirit beast, Lingwu. He had only ever killed them, and now he had to tame one. He had never attempted to communicate with a non-human creature before. First, step dash. Suyuk slowly approached the creature. Nay dash. The closer he got, the more fiercely it roared. The menacingly raised front leg looked capable of crushing even steel. I don't mean to harm you. Step dash. Step by step. As he got closer to the sky horse. I just want to get along. Crash dash. Rip dash. The sky horse's front leg came crashing down where Suyuk's head had been moments earlier. The spot where Suyuk had just stood was now empty. For a moment, looking bewildered, the sky horse soon realized something heavy was on its back. Just trying to be friends, you know? Looks more like a threat to be friends. Seems like a beg rather than a threat? Poor Suyuk. Though he had managed to climb onto its back, the problem lay in what to do next. Not knowing what to do next, Suyuk, for the first time since the stream began, sought help from the viewers. Does anyone have a tamer-related skill? Oh no! Whoosh dash. The sky horse's wings spread wide. In an instant, the sensation of his body being lifted into the air, and the speed at which he accelerated was incomparable to when he flew with Viola. Oh no! Ah! Whoosh dash. Thus, while riding on the back of the sky horse, Suyuk began to circle Asgard. The heavenly mountains of Murim, a vast mountainous region composed of steep slopes, high peaks, and an endless range that would take several days to traverse. In the past, it had been the seat of the heavenly demon cult, or simply the demonic cult, but now it had become a land for only one individual. Heavenly demon Jin Weryung. He stood at the peak of the highest snow-covered mountain, looking down at those climbing up from below. It's been a while since I've seen anyone here, he remarked. Of course. After all, you killed them all, came the retort. Braving the neatly piled snow, a large crowd ascended. They were so numerous that they filled the summit, each person determined to face death. At the forefront stood Jin Doha, the former leader of the Martial Alliance and the Sword King. Still haven't given up? Jin Weryung said with exasperation. This was not the first time that Jin Doha had come to kill him. Didn't I tell you? You can't kill me. You are nothing more than a byproduct left by the heavens when they created me. Shut up. Little brother. Jin Doha trembled at those words. Remember this one thing. Half of the people who die here today are killed because of you. Little brother? Did he just call him little brother? The Sword King and the heavenly demon are? The murmurs around them grew louder. The martial artists who accompanied Jin Doha glanced back and forth between him and Jin Weryung. An old Jin Doha and the still youthful Jin Weryung who didn't even look middle-aged. If they were indeed brothers, it was clear who was the elder and who was the younger. Return now. I am willing to let you go just this once. Then promise me that you will stop all your mass killings and atone for the sins you've committed. The heavenly demon. He was the strongest in the tower and also the most hated. Under his hand, the demonic cult vanished, and the previous leader of the Martial Alliance, Jin Doha's predecessor, was dead. Even after that, he wandered the tower, annihilating any guild that caught his eye. Countless guilds lived in fear of his sudden appearance. I can't do that. Why on earth? Because we have to go higher. Again with that nonsense. Through their conversations, Jin Doha realized he couldn't stop Jin Weryung. Ultimately, the only way to stop him lay in the sword. After taking a moment to calm his breath, Jean Doha's eyes gleamed sharply once more. Today will not be easy. Thump. A man stepped forward, recognizing it was time to introduce himself. It's been a while. Do you remember me? At that moment, Jean Weryung's eyes narrowed upon confirming the half of the man's face that remained. The one who pretends to be a sparrow. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Title: Taming the Sky Horse, not the Heavenly Demon. It was the 4th day of the challenge. The repeated content had even changed the title. Finding the Sky Horse, failing to tame it, and falling off its back over and over again. How many times had it been now? Counting the attempts wasn't hard. Failed on the 41st try. Oh well. I guess Lee Suyuk isn't good at everything. Lee Suyuk? More like Tu Suyuk. It seemed like every success he had achieved so far was being flipped on its head, leading to continuous failure. 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 Again. And another fall. Once again, it was Viola and her Sky Horse who caught Suyuk as he plummeted, seemingly destined to crash through to the underground of Valhalla. The 41st time. Nay. Viola counted the attempts in harmony with the viewers, while the Sky Horse snorted in mockery, holding the edge of Suyuk's clothes with its teeth. With nothing left to say, Suyuk hung his head low. Safe Asset has donated 100 points. Damn, I should have set this as a mission. Even the icon of 0 wins was taunting him with donations. For real, lol. Do you manage to beat things that seemed impossible but you can't clear this, lol. Safe Asset fail, lol. This won't do. It was useless to keep tackling the challenge the same way. He needed a different approach. But while he might beat and subdue it, taming an animal was not really his forte. He had to think of a new way. Yet, over the past 4 days he had tried almost everything he could think of. Don't rush. Take your time and try to get used to it. The Sky Horse isn't something that can be tamed in a day or two. Viola. How long did it take you? It took me about 5 years. 5 years. Lee Suyuk's eyes, revealed from behind his mask, trembled violently. 5 years. That was an unexpected length of time. 5 years of this? For 5 years. But this makes sense. Yeah, until now it was kind of easy. Come to think of it, it wasn't that strange after all. Lee Suyuk had been passing the tests at an exceptionally fast pace so far. But typically, most players spent a considerable amount of time ascending even one level. Moreover, he was now about to climb the stairs to the 8th floor. If the test was easy, that would be the strange part. Yet, Safety Asset has registered a mission. Ha ha ha. Nice. Tame it by today and get 100,000 points. Have fun. In the midst of this serious situation, a mission like Sweet Rain came through. Ha! Wow, really? It's like a resurrection spell, lol. Did he win? It seemed that everyone else knew but him. Lee Suyuk's face brightened upon seeing the newly registered mission. Thank you for the mission. A flag was set. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The sun set. He tried 2 more times but failed again. Having a snack of bread and jerky that he had packed with Viola, they lit a campfire. This makes it the 43rd time. As if she was having fun, Viola reminded him of the number again. LOL. This sister is on the same side as the viewers? Lee Suyuk didn't dwell too much on the number of failures. What was more important than the number of failed attempts was figuring out a way to tame that wretched Sky Horse. Should we try luring it with food again? We tried with the cloud thing that the Sky Horse likes. Remember? Is there something else it likes? What they like most is freedom. That's why it's so hard to tame. No matter how much he talked it over with Viola, there were no clear solutions. Chewing on a piece of jerky, Lee Suyuk fell into deep thought again. Even if I manage to solve other tests, it's useless if I can't tame that creature. So what should I do? Swoosh dash. It was then. The Sky Horse next to Viola started to crouch and show signs of fear. There was only one reason it would react like this. Ha! Clop dash. The sound of solid hooves and a Sky Horse appeared from beyond the clouds. It was the king of the Sky Horses, the one Lee Suyuk had to tame. It's coming to us first? It stood at a distance, observing Lee Suyuk. It wasn't a mere coincidence that it had wandered over and encountered him. Is it seeking me out? Their eyes met. It didn't come any closer, just kept watching him. Lee Soo-yuk didn't possess any special talent for reading the eyes of spiritual creatures. But even at a glance, he could tell it wanted something from him. Did that creature once have a master? Viola noticeably flinched, clearly surprised. How did you know? Was it Thor by any chance? How did you know that too? As he feared. I realized it too late. It wasn't just some tedious test of manual labor. The test had already given him a hint. Thunder's wings. What? It must miss its old master. The reason it wandered alone wasn't just because it was bigger or stronger than other sky horses. It couldn't come any closer from afar because of a familiar feeling it sensed. Thor, who wielded the power of lightning. The sky horse who had served Thor. It was drawn to him because of the glimpses of thunder power he had shown. Swoosh dash. Rising from his seat, Lee Soo-yuk swallowed the piece of jerky he had in his mouth and started walking towards the sky horse. Were you looking for this? Crackle dash. Blue lightning bloomed from the tips of Soo-yuk's fingers. It was quite a significant output. Soo-yuk seemed ready to make it explode at any moment as thunder surged. As anticipated, the sky horse did not avoid it. Crunch dash. Instead, he approached Soo-yuk even closer. He was drawn in to catch a whiff of it. The more thunder Soo-yuk generated, the more the sky horse was attracted to him. Crackle dash. So Soo-yuk had only one thing to do now. He had to show that he was the one chosen by the thunder. Is it working? Step dash. But just because he had the thunder didn't mean he could become its master outright. Gi hai hai hing. The sky horse raised its front leg threateningly as if to say, "Don't come any closer." It seemed to indicate that this was the limit Soo-yuk was allowed to approach. All right, I got it. Soo-yuk took a step back. There was no need to provoke the barely calm sky horse. Judging by its current state, it would definitely come to find him again. He had found a way to get closer. From now on, as Viola mentioned, he just needed to take his time to get acquainted with it slowly. Interaction, she said. So, for today, this was enough. It's a pity. Even though he had found the answer, it wasn't a 100% satisfactory result. He would eventually overcome the challenge, but there was a mission associated with this test. Seems like the safe asset mission. As he was about to say that, it seemed like a failure. It's real. A chill ran down his spine, and he turned around. But the owner of the voice vanished like a mirage. Aren't we old acquaintances? Nice to see you. A mocking voice sounded from the exact opposite direction. Soo-yuk remembered hearing that voice a few days ago, albeit belatedly. Not particularly happy to see you. Well, it's just me being happy then. Loki, the second prince of Asgard and Thor's half-brother. With a playful face, he waved at Soo-yuk. I didn't really believe it, but it's true. It's thunder. Interesting. Do you desire this? You really don't know anything. There isn't a god who wouldn't desire it. His eyes gleamed with greed, resembling those of a serpent. His gaze scanned Soo-yuk from top to bottom. It was an unpleasant look. Meeting those eyes, Soo-yuk lowered his gaze. Loki's twisted smile entered his sight. You're quick-witted. Loki's eyes possessed a special power. Although the exact nature was unknown, it was clear that magic flowed abnormally around those eyes. I really can't understand. Why does someone like you possess thunder? Why did Father and Tyr permit it? Soon, Loki's voice reached Soo-yuk's ears. And why do they want to give you wings? Crash dash. Reflexively, he unleashed lightning. Despite its force tearing the clouds apart, Loki reappeared unscathed, nonchalantly. It's fortunate, isn't it? Unlike my brother, killing a human like you to take it wouldn't be a big issue. For me, it's a welcome situation. Somehow, I thought it was strange. Ha! Soo-yuk raised his head again and met Loki's eyes. Facing those eyes felt like a sharp spear piercing through his chest. He thought it was Loki's presence, but it was a misconception. It's not you after all. Crackle dash. the lightning flowing through Suyuk's body changed color. It turned black as golden and blue hues mingled, giving him the strength to face Loki's eyes. Lightning Lord, imbues your body. Selfish sacrifice LV9. Resists, Lightning Lord. Then he saw it at last. Those eyes dashed up. Beyond Loki, another figure with a concealed face stared at him. From whom did you get that? Hing dash, flap dash. Dozens of sky horses took flight. Their once peaceful abode had turned into a battlefield. Boom dash, crackle dash. Lightning fell from the sky as thunder roared and burst forth beneath the clouds. Dozens of lightning strikes enveloped Loki's body without a gap. Crash dash, sizzle dash. The lightning did not touch Loki's body. The problem was the transparent barrier surrounding him. It was so solid that even the numerous lightning bolts failed to put a scratch on it. If the barrier isn't a one-time spell, it could be troublesome. With one round of attacks over, it was now the other side's turn. Sure enough, a teal magic circle emerged beneath Loki's feet. Devour! Growl dash! Two gigantic wolves, summoned from the magic circle, leaped towards Lee Suyuk. Ordinary wolves would be easy to handle, but these were monstrous beings summoned by Loki. Sharp teeth bit into Suyuk's shoulder. At the same time, another wolf aimed for his head, but Suyuk drew his sword. Flash dash! Slice dash! A lightning-imbued strike slashed the two wolves. Although he intended to cut down Loki too, it was too much to hope for. Suyuk, experiencing the fight, admitted his thoughts candidly. You are strong. The opponent was Loki. Even though Suyuk wielded the Lightning Lord, it was still challenging to confront a named god. Unlike himself, who strained his body with every sprint, Loki was still merely testing the waters. He was strong. Suyuk never expected to encounter such a formidable opponent on the 7th floor. The tower must be broken. Why is it difficult like this? He knew the reason for the adjusted difficulty. Showing thunder in Asgard was inviting trouble. Thunder was the symbol of Thor, powerful enough to threaten gods. An increase in difficulty was inevitable. However, no matter how you look at it, HZZ-. Suyuk blocked the energy shot from the tip of Loki's staff with his sword. He felt his fingers go numb, and sweat began to trickle down his forehead. This is a bit much, isn't it? Clang dash. Eventually, he was overpowered and flung backward. To the opponent, it might have been a light use of magic, but for Suyuk, it was hard even to block. Sizzle dash. Suyuk steadied himself by grasping the cloud-covered ground. Before he knew it, Loki appeared right in front of him. Honestly, I am surprised. Loki glanced at the corpses of the summoned beasts that Suyuk had slain. I wondered how well a human could wield thunder. To think it would be this level. Loki remained consistently relaxed. It was as if he was enjoying observing how a human handled thunder. You belittle me, thinking you're better than him, right? Don't be arrogant. You are far from matching my brother. Hearing Loki's words, Suyuk grew curious. Just how formidable was Thor in his sane state? Of course, I am stronger too. Crackle dash. Electric currents flowed from the staff in Loki's hand. They were as powerful as the lightning Suyuk emitted. Hurriedly, Suyuk launched a lightning strike to neutralize the two energies. While being gradually overpowered, Viola flew in on a sky horse. What on earth are you doing? Valkyrie? Whistle dash. A whistle escaped Loki's lips. A bubble-like water barrier engulfed Viola and the sky horse she rode. Viola instinctively drew her sword and swung, but it was futile. Loki's magic remained unbroken. Trapped in the water bubble, Viola struggled. Stay put. Well, I don't intend to let you out. Flash dash. At that moment, Loki's vision flashed brightly. With a thunderous noise, Loki's cheek was singed. Had he not reflexively deployed his magic, it would have been a much more dangerous blow. It was a bolt of lightning fired by Lee Suyuk while Loki was distracted by Viola. This was quite good. You blocked it. Suyuk wore a perplexed expression behind his mask. This won't work. The opportunity Viola had created just before was the last one. Having missed that chance, there was no other way to narrow the gap in their abilities. There was an insurmountable difference in power between himself and Loki, no matter how many scenarios he considered. From the start, this wasn't an opponent meant to be overcome. Was revealing thunder from the beginning a mistake? Even while recalling the past tests in his mind, Loki's spells flew toward him. A giant ice spear shot up from the clouds aiming for his heart. Flames wrapped around his body, and a gigantic hand, like that of a giant's, descended from above. There's only one thing I can hope for. Every moment was a crisis, but Suyuk's gaze did not waver. In response to Suyuk's determined eyes, Loki scoffed. Do you believe Tyr will help you? For the first time, Suyuk's eyes wavered at those words. Perhaps noticing his words had hit the mark, Loki continued. He won't come. How can you be so sure? Because Heimdall is watching over him. Heimdall? Yes, those far-seeing eyes of his are watching both father and Tyr. Right now, the two of them are in a place far, far away from Asgard. Tap, tap. As he spoke, Loki tapped his eyes with his fingers. Did you think I would move without any insurance? We are certain. Indeed, Loki was alone and yet not alone. The source of the initial sense of discomfort. So, Heimdall is meddling. You're sharp as always. Yes, Heimdall chose me, not my brother. My brother couldn't overcome the thunder. But if it were me. As he continued, Loki squinted. Suppressing laughter was Suyuk's reaction. Though clearly cornered, he was laughing instead. What's so funny? Ah, now I somewhat understand. Understand. I wondered why you're going around in such a complicated way, and it was because of Heimdall, Tyr and Odin. There was a reason why those two couldn't help him. If he suspected Heimdall from the start, he would certainly act when Tyr and Odin couldn't interfere. According to Loki, Heimdall had a special ability. No matter how far away, his two eyes could simultaneously watch Odin and Tyr. As expected. Slowly, the surroundings changed as a new cutscene began. Missed someone, you idiot. Asterisk. An empty garden. Heimdall, with his eyes closed, was watering the flowers. It was a peaceful time, but internally he was fighting an unseen war. Having tended to his garden himself, he lifted his head. Soon, his eyes, which had been closed for over 1,000 years, opened. You are here. The dimly opened eyes of Heimdall were completely devoid of light. Though they were far-sighted eyes, he had the power to see farther than anyone. Crack dash. Soon, the sound of thunder echoed in the clear sky. The garden that lightning struck burned black in an instant. Despite his carefully tended garden being ruined, Heimdall did not show any sign of displeasure. No. He even showed respect towards the man who appeared with the thunder. Congratulations on your return. I won't accept any greetings. A handsome man with blonde hair and blue radiance in his eyes. Fallen from the dry sky, he was Thor, the first lightning lord and the son of the great Odin. You know why I'm here, don't you? Why have you discarded the thunder and gathered such residue? Is that what you're curious about now? That's not the only thing I'm curious about. What Heimdall asked was just one of the many questions that came to his mind. How did you regain your senses? Where did the thunder go? How did you know about me? Odin and Tyr. He thought he only needed to watch out for the two of them. That's why, the moment he decided to act, Heimdall monitored only their movements. It was as tough a task as a life-and-death battle. Even for Heimdall, observing Odin and Tyr without being noticed was challenging. I thought losing my sight allowed me to see everything in this world, but now I feel blind again. Why were you so obsessed with the thunder? You weren't really trying to give it to that idiot Loki, were you? Perhaps I know better what that item is. It was the power that made Heimdall lose his sight. Hence, Heimdall coveted thunder more than anyone else. Is it a desire for power? Quite the opposite. Heimdall, who was tending the garden, put down the watering can he was holding and stretched out his hand. That is an object that must disappear from this world. ZZZT-. A long, pure white sword was drawn from thin air into Heimdall's outstretched hand. It was Heimdall's weapon, unseen for a very long time. Thor wanted to converse more with him, but it was impossible. By the time they both gripped their weapons, the battle had already begun. I shall hear the details after I've knocked you down. At that moment, boom dash, Thor's hammer exploded above Heimdall's head. The battle between two of the highest gods representing Asgard had begun. ZZZT-. Loki's eyes began to lose color just after the cutscene ended. Ugh! Ah! Loki clutched his eyes and screamed in pain. The power of Heimdall, which had been nestled in his eyes, started to escape. Boom dash! Suyuk was not one to miss such a brief opportunity. Clasping his hands together, he focused the lightning, creating a spear. A spear combining lightning and thunder, it was the most powerful spear Suyuk could unleash. With a thunderous roar, the spear formed in his hands shot towards Loki. ZZZT-. Oh! Loki, who had been writhing in pain just moments ago, opened his eyes wide. In the split second when Heimdall's power within him was severed, he was struck with a powerful blow. Thwack dash! Loki's body, along with the spear, flew far beyond Suyuk's sight. It was a critical strike. Perhaps, this brief moment was the only chance given to Suyuk to test the mindless enemy known as Loki. Dash! In the distance, Loki's scream echoed, a sound blending pain and rage. Soon, he floated high into the sky with a large wound on his chest. How dare you! This insignificant creature! Loki glared downward at Suyuk in rage. The wound on his chest had been scorched by the lightning and half-pierced, with the blood coagulated. It seemed he was furious about receiving such a grave injury from a human. Planning to pierce his heart in one hit, Suyuk clicked his tongue in disappointment. He's not dead. And then, finding his composure, he spoke. From now on, I'll be catching Loki. Anyone wanna give me a mission? Crackle! Loki's magic erupted in the sky. Thunder and ice fell as if rain was pouring down. It felt as if an enraged world had turned into a natural disaster, dispensing punishment. Though Suyuk had experienced magic before, he had never encountered anything of this level. Was I too arrogant? Suyuk blocked the falling thunder and spears of ice from the sky with a veil of lightning which he conjured with his sword. Even with using the heart of lightning, Loki was still a formidable opponent. Crack! After blocking the pouring magic for a moment, Suyuk disappeared from his spot. He approached Loki, who was floating in the sky. Suyuk's sword swung vertically, aiming at Loki's neck. Boom! The slashed blow cleaved the air with a thunderous sound. Once again, Loki had moved far away, preparing his next spell. Again! It wasn't that Suyuk couldn't chase him. Using the mobility of lightning, aerial combat was possible. But engaging in that manner would undoubtedly exhaust him first. Aerial combat using lightning required too much stamina and magic. Aerial combat is his domain. Loki knew this too. The power of magic fully materialized when there was a distance, and Loki had made the air the stage for a disadvantageous battle for Suyuk. Selfish Sacrifice LV.9 resists Heart of Lightning. Fatigue has risen to 61. Meanwhile, Suyuk's stamina was gradually being depleted. The longer the fight, the worse it is for me. Prolonged battle was disadvantageous. Yet, engaging in a reckless aerial battle as Loki wanted was akin to a moth diving into a burning flame. Stuck in a frustrating situation, Suyuk chose, for the first time, to distance himself from Loki. Whoosh! Crackle! Heart of Lightning is deactivated. The power enveloping his body felt like it drained away in an instant. After a moment of emptiness, the damage that had been continuously eating at his stamina vanished. Suyuk briefly hid himself in the nearby clouds. He had cleverly utilized the moment Loki was widening the gap with his magic, making it unlikely his position would be revealed soon. Phew! This is really tough. There's really no solution this time. Second attempt possible? Since starting the stream, Suyuk had never been cornered this badly. Although it couldn't be helped given his opponent, it was far from a pleasant experience. Even the viewers watching the stream started to doubt the outcome more and more. Things were so bleak that a long silent notorious viewer placed a mission. Safe Asset has registered a mission. Capture Loki in the first try and earn 500,000 points. Safe Asset has donated 100 points. Ha ha ha. This looks like a failure too. The notorious viewer, who had previously registered the mission to tame the Skyhorse, made their second mission. Normally, Suyuk would have welcomed any mission. However, this time, he couldn't be entirely pleased. This is really difficult. Both Viola's support and the opportunity created by Thor had failed. Despite those two chances, he still didn't feel confident he could capture Loki. Was it really not meant to be this time? As Suyuk was contemplating whether to give up and think about a second attempt, he heard a heavy, distinct sound of hooves close by. Lifting his head, hoping against all odds, he saw a familiar figure looking down at him. Yu-ha! An enormous creature, several times larger than an ordinary sky-horse steed, glared at him with sharp eyes. Feeling as if he was looking into the eyes of a wild animal, Suyuk laughed wryly. Why? Did you come to catch me too? Whether it understood him or not, the sky-horse steed continued to stare blankly at Suyuk without response. Winnie! *****. Loki was fuming. The wound in his chest throbbed, fueling his anger even more. Even though wielding thunder, the fact that he got injured by a mere human was an unbearable blow to his pride. Where have you hidden away? The moment he created distance with teleportation magic, the fellow disappeared simultaneously. As a result, he momentarily lost the location of his opponent. It didn't seem to be a coincidence. It was likely that the opponent deemed him a threat and decided to hide. His opponent was still in the vicinity. The only place to hide here was amidst the surrounding clouds, and moving from one cloud to another would inevitably leave a trace. Where are you? Whoosh dash. Flames erupted from Loki's staff. Boom dash. A fiery sphere, imbued with intense heat, shattered the largest cloud nearby into pieces. The air became scorching hot. It would have been ideal if he found Suyuk at once. But unfortunately, Suyuk wasn't there. Come out now. No matter how much you endure. Bang, bang bang dash. Loki started shooting flames indiscriminately. He intended to erase all the clouds in the vicinity. In the end, you'll just burn to death within these flames. Buzz dash. Soon, a gigantic magic circle appeared at the tip of the staff that Loki held high. Whoosh, from the sky higher than the clouds, a rain of flames began to pour down. Thousands, tens of thousands of fiery raindrops started to incinerate everything in the vicinity except Loki. Bang, bang bang dash, whoosh dash. To prove that it was more than just a warning, Loki truly began to burn everything in sight. It didn't matter if he didn't find Suyuk. After everything burned down, he could slowly search for the thunder. Even if the human body burned to ashes, the thunder wouldn't be consumed by such flames. Arrogant. Loki looked downwards with blazing eyes. The clouds, scorched by the flames, had all cleared. Loki didn't doubt that within them, there would be the corpse of the arrogant human and the thunder he so desperately longed for. But it's not here. In the place cleared of clouds, the thunder did not exist. Completely empty sky. Below, they could see their land, Valhalla, which was thousands of meters away. Then where was the human? That question surfaced at that moment. Nay dash. Higher in the sky than where Loki hovered. A booming cry of the sky horse echoed. Hey, you fool! And in Loki's line of sight, there it was. Why are you making noise up there? On top of the sky horse. The image of a human preparing to strike him with lightning. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. It wasn't Suyuk's first time riding the sky horse. He had flown up to this place on the sky horse's back with Viola. However, it was the first time Suyuk truly understood what it meant to ride the sky horse. So it felt this comfortable. He now grasped why Viola had seemed so relaxed compared to him. The sky horse's allowed back felt as if flying by one's own will, with no sense of awkwardness or discomfort. The reason gods referred to the sky horse as a supernatural being. It wasn't merely because they had lived for over 1,000 years and possessed the special ability to fly. It's called communion, right? The sky horse had the capability to choose its owner. The owner of the sky horse became one with it, while those who didn't were merely borrowing its wings. In this sense, Suyuk was now completely one with the sky horse. Flash dash. Borrowing the sky horse's back, Suyuk soared above Loki and struck him with lightning. Crackle dash. Lightning scattered over Loki's body. Although blocked by his staff, the attack did leave an impact. After landing a blow from a distance, it was time to close in. Clutching his sword tightly, Suyuk spoke. Let's go. Winnie dash. There was no need to hold the reins or strive to maintain balance. No matter how fast it went, as long as he was united with the sky horse, it was under his control. The scenery changed rapidly. The sky horse carrying Suyuk was a completely different breed from the one Viola controlled. Why are you? Loki looked surprised at the sight of Suyuk controlling the sky horse. It seemed he couldn't believe that Suyuk was riding the sky horse that Thor used to handle. But Loki's surprise lasted only for a moment. He used magic again and disappeared from his position. As Loki appeared at a higher and more distant place, the sky horse continued the chase. Boom dash. There was no longer any need to expend unnecessary effort to increase mobility. The sky horse had enough power to match Loki's agility and flight capabilities. Damn it! Loki, who had repeatedly increased the distance with magic, gripped his staff tighter. He realized that continuously running away was pointless. The choice faced by Loki now was to confront with full force. Flash dash. The staff emitted a bright light. A blue-tinged magic circle formed a complex pattern behind him. Though the charging sky horse hesitated for a moment, Suyuk confidently ordered. Charge. Winnie dash. The sky horse accelerated. From Loki's magic circle, massive electrical discharges erupted. As if to show he could handle this level too, Suyuk held on to his pride till the end. Boom dash. The sword wielded by Suyuk atop the sky horse collided with the thunder and lightning conjured by Loki. The charge of the sky horse came to a halt. Loki laughed as he gripped his staff firmly. No matter how exceptional the horse, it means nothing if the rider is incompetent. Crackle. Loki's electrified attack pierced through Suyuk's shoulder and waist. Thousands of electrified strands, each possessing both physical and elemental power, were as sharp as blades. Even with thunder, that's all you can manage. If it were me, no, I could handle it better than even my brother. Crackle. Gradually, the intensity of Loki's magic increased. The sky horse started to wail, unable to bear it any longer. Someone like you could never be the master of thunder. But I can be. Crackle dash. For a moment, the tilt in the balance of power leveled out. Thud. The sound of his heartbeat echoed in his ears. As his heart rate increased, he could feel his power amplifying. Neither you nor Thor can do it. Only I can. How could he be so confident? Maybe one day he would find himself saying this to the viewers watching the stream. You think what I have is only a half measure? Perhaps he had returned to use this power again. You're wrong. Boom. Boom dash. Thud. Thud. As he maximized the output of thunder and lightning, it felt as though his heart would explode. It was a warning that he might actually die from this. But now was the time to ignore such warnings. What I have is the real deal. Impossible. Crackle. A lightning strike, perfectly mirroring the form of his sword, was released with enormous output. This lightning looked like a massive slash that could connect the heavens and the earth. Gradually, the slash wielded by Suyuk pierced through Loki's magic and drew closer. Though it seemed slow, it happened in an instant. The true form of the thunder that Loki so fervently desired. Were dash. That force, signaling the end of the battle, detonated upon Loki. Selfish sacrifice LV.9 resisted the damage from lightning, and thunder. Fatigue reached 98. His body went limp. If it hadn't been for the Sky Horse, he might have plummeted straight down to where Valhalla was. I thought I might die. Desperate to end the fight with a single strike, he squeezed out every last bit of his strength. If he couldn't win with this, then he couldn't win at all. Still, the performance has definitely improved. The previous strike had surprised even himself. He hadn't thought he could unleash an attack of this magnitude. If judged by that single strike alone, it evoked memories of Lee Soo-yuk in his prime. It must have supported my stamina to this extent. Thanks to the Heart of Lightning that had worked so hard and the level 9 selfish sacrifice that played its part, he was still standing. As every ounce of strength ebbed from his body, Soo-yuk checked Loki's condition one last time. The message indicating the completion of the trial had not yet appeared. It was unlikely that Loki was unscathed, but there was a possibility he wasn't dead yet. Sure enough. Ugh, ugh. Loki, still clinging to his staff, floated in midair with his eyes half-rolled back. Seriously durable. It was hard to believe, but he was indeed alive. Considering he had faced such a monstrous foe, it was no wonder it had been difficult. Fortunately, he still had enough strength to move his limbs. He had experienced intense fatigue numerous times, even managing to take half of Kim Il-soo's face in such a state. He could certainly finish off a nearly dead opponent. Let's go. The Sky Horse moved according to Soo-yuk's will. Having fought together, the Sky Horse had undeniably become Soo-yuk's ally. Riding the Sky Horse, Soo-yuk closed the distance, his sword pointing toward Loki's neck. Stubborn till the end. He raised his sword high. Let's finish this. Shush dash. At the moment his sword was about to strike Loki's neck. Z dash. Oh! Something caught his sword around Loki's neck. Loki was still unconscious. It wasn't his magic. A third party. Hold your hand for a moment. Odin intervened. Are you shielding him just because he's your son? Shameful as it is, yes. He had asked just in case, and it turned out to be true. The very person who had created this situation was intervening now. Looks like he only planned to mess with Heimdall. Poor underdog. Damn familial ties. Isn't it more about adoption? Loki was Odin's second son. However, among players it was known that Loki was not blood-related to Odin. In simple terms, he was an adopted son. Despite this, Odin stepped in front of Loki's death, swallowing his pride. Wasn't it you folks who caused this mess? Yes. Rushing in belatedly, and instead of cleaning up the mess you made, you're here protecting your son? That's rather disappointing. Soo-yuk deliberately provoked him. Odin was the one in the wrong here. Ignoring and moving past his wrongful actions would mean Soo-yuk would forever be a pawn to be used. This is complicated. Odin had intended to find the enemy who had trapped Thor with Tyr, but Loki had become an unexpected variable. Loki had planned to steal the thunder with Heimdall. It was unclear when they had started working together. Depending on the timing, it would be revealed whether Loki had a hand in trapping Thor. I intend to uncover this child's crimes properly. After that, he'll receive the penalty he deserves. Sins, you say? Lee Soo-yuk laughed at his words. Is your son's entrapment the only crime? What about this? It's not, no. The Sky Horse's home was obliterated. If they hadn't won the fight, neither Lee Soo-yuk nor Viola, whom the Sky Horse held limp in its jaws, would have survived. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this, but it's hard to stay rational when it involves my son. There was only one relationship requiring no justification or compensation, that between a parent and child. Even the king of the gods wasn't free from that bond. Odin groaned at his own unreasonable actions. If I call this an atonement for our rudeness and these actions. Odin's gaze landed on Loki, who remained unconscious. How about this? ZZZT. Something sharp was extracted from Loki's chest. A jagged gemstone, no bigger than a fingernail, emitted a dazzling blue light. It felt similar to thunder. But it was different. Lee Soo-yuk remembered seeing something like that before. Heart. It resembled the heart of lightning, which he had obtained after shattering the giant's head during the second test at Furious Village. I'm not asking for your forgiveness with this. Swoosh. At Odin's gesture, it floated slowly into Lee Suyuk's hands. But I promise this child will certainly pay for his sins. Well, if you say so. Feigning defeat, Lee Suyuk nodded and reached forward. Just this once, I'll let it go. The moment he grasped the heart. Spin. Ha! His vision spun wildly. His sense of balance vanished, leaving him unable to differentiate the sky from earth. He couldn't even stay on the skyhorse's back anymore. His spinning vision darkened, and he lost his grip on consciousness. Fatigue has reached 99. Come to think of it, his fatigue was overwhelming. That was Lee Suyuk's last conscious thought. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. He didn't know how much time had passed since he lost consciousness. Slowly, as if his body were floating up from deep water, Lee Suyuk's awareness resurfaced. I didn't expect you to arrive so soon. He heard a voice. The voice echoed like a whisper, bouncing off narrow walls. Lee Suyuk couldn't help but listen. I thought I knew you completely, but I guess I was wrong. It's been over 10,000 years since we fought together. Change is natural. It's unfair. I've grown so weak while you have ascended to far greater heights. His vision gradually cleared. Lee Suyuk found himself in a prison. It felt dark and deep underground. Cut scene. Two figures were conversing across iron bars thicker than a hand. Heimdall, bound in countless chains, glared at Odin with bitter eyes. No one would have expected the two to meet this way. Why did you do it? That item must vanish. Heimdall reiterated an old claim. It shouldn't exist. One day, it will lead not only Asgard but all worlds to ruin. So you meant to destroy it? Yes. How? There was no reply. Had he acted without a plan? Or had he found a way but chosen to keep silent? It's always been like this. Odin sighed deeply with regret as he spoke. I gave him the heart. Heimdall, who had been bowing halfway, looked directly at Odin. At times like this, it made one question whether he was really blind. Even without eyes, he could see whatever he wished to. So this is true. Would any lie pass by you? He possesses the complete heart of thunder. But why? That's precisely why. Odin's thinking was on a completely different trajectory than Heimdall's. I thought we should move forward without breaking it. Instead, we should find its true master to handle it and prepare for that day that might come. A day that might come? Listening to the cutscene dialogue, Lee Suyuk's eyes snapped open. A day that might come. It was a word engraved in the souls of all players, including himself. Suyuk had been aware of that day for a long time. However, he had never found a clue about it until now when Odin mentioned something similar. Thor failed. Yes, he failed. Are you expecting a human to succeed in what your own son failed? Surely you haven't forgotten? Who is it that blinded your eyes? Heimdall lost his eyes in a battle between gods and humans. He is strong enough for now, and his ability to handle thunder is better than Thor's. What do you think? Isn't it worth expecting great things from him? That's exactly the problem. Their views did not converge at all. The conversation running in parallel lines ended with Odin's remorse. That day, we should have ended it. If we had, we wouldn't be separated by these bars now. Indeed. Heimdall grabbed Odin, who was about to turn away for the last word. I hope you don't regret this. Odin, after halting momentarily, began to move his feet again. That depends on the human. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. As the cutscene ended, Suyuk's mind gradually became clear. He slowly opened his eyes, feeling a comforting sensation. He wondered if he had fully become a streamer because he unconsciously focused on the chat first. Hey, he woke up. Persistent wins LOL. My timing was perfect. Seeing the rapidly scrolling chat comments, it seemed that he had been unconscious for quite a while. Recently, there hadn't been a time when he blacked out for so long during a stream. Ugh. He first lifted his body and observed his surroundings. Judging from the fact that he was lying on a bed, it seemed to be somewhere in Valhalla. Did Odin bring me here? He was the last one Suyuk was with, so it must have been him. He didn't particularly feel indebted. No matter how great a price he had received, Odin and Tyr had used him. The content of the cutscene lingered in his mind. It was a cutscene that mentioned something that would happen one day. Since there were no comments about the cutscene, it seemed the viewers hadn't seen it. He recalled the words left by Huang Guxiang before he died. If you get the chance, meet the 3 demon kings. Then you might understand. He had already planned to visit them, but now he had another reason. But in my current state, I'm far from ready. The 3 demon kings were kings among demons, beings referred to as demon kings. Seeking them out with subpar skills would mean even 10 lives wouldn't be enough. Deep in thought about the cutscene, Suyuk suddenly asked, "How long was I out?" He thought there was no one around, so he directed the question to his viewers. "About half a day." The answer came from an entirely different place. "Oh." How long had they been there? Turning his head to the side, Suyuk saw Thor waving at him. "Nice to see you again. Should I say we're acquainted?" It was the first time he saw Thor in a sane condition. The Thor he had seen before was like a crazed bull seeing a red cloth. His body bore far more wounds than Suyuk, who had just awakened from unconsciousness. It seemed they had a hard time capturing him while Heimdall was imprisoned. "Do you remember me?" Suyuk asked. Thor shook his head. "No. I have faint glimpses of scenes, but I do not remember. I heard about you from my father. Then it's hard to call it an old acquaintance. Even so, you saved my life. It's not an introduction." After saying this, Thor suddenly bowed his head. "Thank you, Asgard, and I owe you. I don't know if I can represent Asgard, but I thank you on behalf of everyone." Suyuk was quite taken aback by the unexpected bow. But then again, considering what he had done from the 5th floor until now, it wouldn't be unusual if they knelt instead. Thor is cool. He really did go through hell. Your dad is a bit shameless though, haha. Even amidst this, seeing the chats come in, Suyuk realized he might have truly become a streamer. After pausing for a moment, Suyuk spoke with resolve. "For someone who owes me, the treatment was rather odd." Thor bowed deeply again at Suyuk's implied criticism. "I'm sorry. Your disappointment is justified. Was there really no other way? Until now, we haven't found any. And probably that would have been the case going forward too. Just admit it. You sure have a way with words." He wasn't exactly in a great mood. Putting aside the difference in species, Suyuk had helped Asgard considerably. However, Suyuk had been used by the gods once more. Though it was in the nature of a trial and he received rewards, it didn't change his view of Thor and the gods of Asgard. "I am aware of how much you have helped us." Fortunately, Asgard wasn't as shameless as he had feared. Raising his head, Thor confidently met Suyuk's eyes. "So, the debt we owe you, we will repay it with interest over however long it takes." It didn't sound like mere words. There was weight in the words of Asgard's prince. This was likely something Thor had discussed with Odin or Tyr. "For now, take this." Thor handed over a golden token with the sky horse engraved on it. "What is this?" "It's a golden token. This is given once every 1,000 years to those recognized by my father, Odin." "Is this supposed to settle everything?" "You wouldn't say that if you knew what it could do." "What can it do?" "Anything Asgard can do." Although Thor's response seemed casual, its content was substantial. It meant that if it was something Asgard could do, it could mean practically anything in the world. It's like a buster call. What's a buster call? It's an immensely powerful button from One Piece. Is it a good thing? It looks good, but too bad it's one-time use. Already, the chat was alive with discussions about the reward. A one-time use item with immense power. Such an item could not have its value assessed merely by its performance. Depending on how and where this is used, its value could change. In short, it was a one-time use ultimate move. And there was no predetermined place to use it yet. Well, I've conveyed what my father wanted me to convey. At that moment, Thor's eyes changed after delivering the token. Friend, shall we go outside and talk privately? There were indeed many things he needed to discuss with him. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Thor brought Suyuk to a field where the Skyhorse was. In Valhalla, the Skyhorse was not tied up in a stable. Once tamed, it wouldn't easily leave its master's side, even without special measures. Thor approached his old mount. Taming this creature isn't an easy task. You did well. His words made Lee Suyuk remember belatedly. Oh, right? No. Something I had forgotten came to mind. Lee Suyuk, quickly turning the microphone, asked, Safe asset. Sir? Is your asset safe? Ha 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 ha. Now he's even teasing the viewer. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Asking if it's safe. Ha ha ha. The two missions that Safe Asset had set up. Ultimately, the outcome this time also resulted in Suyuk's victory. Completed the mission. Received 100,000 points as sponsorship from Safe Asset. Completed the mission. Received 500,000 points as sponsorship from Safe Asset. Safe Asset sponsored 100 points. You dog. Safe Asset was still watching the stream. There were a few more missions pending. As Suyuk received the mission rewards one after another, his smile grew wider and wider. With the growth of the stream, the number of missions had also increased. Seeing the rapidly accumulating points lifted his spirits. Seems like something good happened. No, nothing good really. Stop the formal speech. You're my savior. Why don't we be friends? Friends? Let me think about it. The deliberation didn't last long. Sure, why not? Ha ha ha. Accepted right away. If you're going to pretend to ponder, at least make it seem longer, haha. Becoming friends with the Prince of Asgard. It wasn't an offer with any downsides. Considering previous events, the likelihood was high that future trials would also be related to this world. Thus, having broad and deep connections would be beneficial. I like your straightforwardness. Very manly. Thor, laughing heartily, petted the Skyhorse and asked, Friend, are you searching for the trace of thunder? The trace of thunder. It was the first time he heard the term, but he could infer what it meant. Suyuk had already heard about the origin of lightning from Tyr before. Yeah, something like that. Why? Because I need greater power. To win the counterfight, ha ha ha. Quickly, give out the rewards. There was no need to explain why a player pursued strength. Honor, power, wealth, and values beyond those. Everything in the tower was directly tied to the player's strength. Is there a reason you need power? It's too soon to tell you that. We just became friends. Indeed, that's also true. With a sly smile, Thor looked into the Skyhorse's eyes. I believe in this guy's choice. He's been my comrade in countless battles for a long time. Then Thor's gaze shifted to Suyuk. And you rescued me. It wasn't really a rescue. No. For me, it was. Thor shook his head determinedly. Back there, I killed countless lives. It didn't matter if they were humans or gods. Back there. As far as Suyuk knew, Thor hadn't gone anywhere. He had been swallowed by thunder and imprisoned by Odin. So, the place Thor was talking about could only be one thing. Yes, that was the memory of thunder. The memory of thunder. That was where Thor had been, swallowed by the power of lightning. I couldn't discern the purpose. I just killed, and killed again the lives I saw, driven by the boiling power in my body. For how long? It's been over hundreds of years. Many players had become desensitized to killing people. Whether it was through tests or guilds or personal competition and fights, a player's life was more closely tied to death than their life before becoming a player. But even so, was it possible to kill someone incessantly for hundreds of years with ordinary mental strength? Just hearing about it and imagining it was enough to make one nauseous. When I wondered if this would ever end, you saved me. Thor closed his eyes, perhaps recalling the sense of relief he felt at that moment. When he reopened his eyes, they held a look reminiscent of the Prince of Asgard. That's why I must help you. Who else would if not me? What do you mean by help? Thunder and lightning, and lightning. 3 words came out of Thor's mouth. I know the whereabouts of one of them, the lightning. Lightning. Lightning was the one thing Lee Suyuk did not possess. Knowing its whereabouts would be invaluable. This must be the destination. He felt it. Even after taming the Sky Horse and defeating Loki, the trial hadn't ended, just for this conversation. Perhaps, the moment Thor revealed the whereabouts of the lightning, the 7th floor would also come to an end. Where is it? Aren't you afraid? Of what? You could become like me, consumed by that power and becoming a monster who doesn't even know what you are. What in the world was he talking about? It doesn't matter. Lee Suyuk shook his head decisively. He was someone who had already died once trying to handle the lightning. If he feared this power, he wouldn't have started in the first place. You are just like me. Smiling wistfully, as if recalling a past event, Thor soon gave his reply, as if unwavering resolve was the right answer. Olympus. The moment he heard the answer. Scenario. Wings of Thunder has been completed. Scenario. Seeker of Thunder has been completed. You have gained 300,000 points. You have gained 500,000 points. You have acquired Mark of Asgard. You have acquired Heart of Thunder. You have leveled up. Your level has A*******. The day of the counterfight was just 1 day away. The counterfight would take place in the central city of the 7th floor, the Desert Kingdom. Humid and dry weather, along with colorful and tall buildings that didn't suit the kingdom. Sitting in a cafe in the middle of that kingdom, Cheon Riang was nervously bouncing his leg and biting on a cup that only had ice left. These humans. Naturally, the humans he muttered about were Lee Suyuk and An Hyang. Lee Suyuk went up to the 8th floor after the test, and An Hyang disappeared without a word about where she went. They both had given no news until the day before the main event was supposed to start. They were supposed to return by this day. It's understandable for An Hyang, but why Lee Suyuk, the streamer? Despite the fainting incident, Lee Suyuk's stream was a huge success. The test set in Asgard, and the perfect conclusion foreshadowing a great stage in Olympus. It wasn't like he was supposed to take the 8th floor's test right away, so taking this long to come back didn't make sense. At this rate, we won't even be able to apply for participation. Lee Suyuk, the streamer's qualification for the main event, was still valid, but only as long as he completed the application in time. Grit. The combination of anxious thoughts and the hot weather made him irritable, as he was biting on the ice out of frustration. Whoosh! From across the direction he was looking to check the distance. A familiar face popped up over Cheon Riang's shoulder. Why are you alone?